If it's a day called today, we're talking guitars and life. Well, welcome back to another exciting episode of Ted Talks Guitars and Life. Well, my friends, I have my coffee, I have my wife's granola. Man, my wife changed up the recipe, man. She put honey in it instead of syrup. I don't know, man. I didn't have the heart to tell her I wasn't feeling that. Actually, I did tell her I wasn't feeling it. No, I think what I said was, could I make a suggestion to the cooking staff? And I'm still alive, so I got that going for me. Pause for the coffee. So, where are we? So it is the morning after several attempts at looking at these dents on this guitar. And guys, it did not go as well as the Washburn in this respect. With the Washburn guitar, when I sanded around the repairs, loosely stated, when I polished it, all the scratches went away. These did not. Now maybe I was a little too aggressive with my sanding, and that's all on me. I can always come back at a later date should I decide to and repaint this guitar. Because everybody wants to watch Ted repaint a guitar, do you not? Oh man, that is crazy. Well, this is the $75 Squier black and blue Strat that I purchased on the marketplace. And yeah, man. So where are we in terms of the body? So in terms of the body, we did clean the guitar. We did remove the stickerage. We did repair one of the holes here. I've yet to do this one up yonder because I want to see how the pickguard fits and which of those holes I want to fill. And neck pocket. Oh, I forgot to take that off the list, man. Dude, somebody's falling down the job here. I did go at the neck pocket with some sandpaper. You may or may not remember that it was super wavy in there like Ringgold's potato chips. So I have flattened that jack. And I'm going to kind of tongue-in-cheek strike through body dings and dents. Oh, man. Guys. Well, I don't know, man. It's, there's no bare wood. That's good. What's ironic about this vid is that I am making it the morning that I posted the dent repair for the Washburn. The first dent repair video. There were two. Yeah. And somebody told me in one of the comments of those, man, I've always found that repairing dents on a guitar, man, they're just not going to ever look just as good as it did before, i.e., particularly for the perfectionist. And I was like, dude, come on, man, I'm not a perfectionist. And everybody who hangs out on the channel just kind of chuckled a little bit. So now, what are we going to do from here? So from here, my friends, ta-da! Strip pickguard. We have actually stripped the pickguard already in the electronic video. We have already swapped the parts from one pickguard to the next. And so right now we are at the point where we are going to install electronics. So I've got a loaded pickguard. I need to put on my pure tone output jack. I need to reassemble the saddles, man. Guys, man, this bridge is the dirtiest, was, and still kind of is, the dirtiest, rustiest situation I've ever seen on a guitar. So I've got to reassemble all of this, of course, and can turn it back into saddles on a bridge. And yeah, I got to install the claw so that we can put our ground wire to it. And yeah, I mean, it, you know, I don't know what you guys think, man. I mean, what think about that repair right there? I mean, you know, it's ugly, but it's not bare wood, man. All right, so in theory, we're going to install electronics. We're going to put the bridge back on. We're going to install the claw. We're going to do the output jack. We're going to throw the neck on this guitar now that we have a square neck pocket. And then we're going to do tuners and string trees. And I don't know how much of this. Actually, I'm probably going to film all of it, guys. And I get that a lot of you are way down the road in this stuff. You could do this blindfolded and 8 times better than I can do it. However, I continue to have people ask me, can you make a video of you doing everything? I need to see everything. I'm just starting. It would be very helpful. So I'm probably going to make those vids. So yeah, man, this series of vids is probably getting up there a little bit even right now, but we're going to continue to do that for the benefit of those who want to hang out on the journey and are just starting out. Then when we get all that done, man, we'll slap some strings on this bad boy, we'll train it up, and eventually at some point we'll play it again. I mean, I did play it when I got it, but you know what I mean. Alright guys, well, stick around, man. That's where we're going. It ought to be a good time. Let's get into it. Now, to be perfectly clear, I'm not saying the new granola recipe isn't good. I'm just saying I prefer the old one. So this Lam Sam loaded pickguard is pretty good. If there's one upgrade that I would make to it, and I'm not going to take the time to do that in this particular project, I would get rid of all of these plastic coated wires, and I would put cloth push-pull wires. It's just easier to operate. Okay, so I've taken the white, which is the hot for the output, and I've taken one of the ground wires and I've kind of put those together, and I'm going to put them through this hole right here for the output jack. This other ground wire is going to go through the body over into the trim cavity so that we can ground that to the claw, which is not quite in the guitar yet. So there is a hole to do that, apparently right here. Hopefully you can see that. Alright, so I'm going to start with that ground wire going through that hole down here at the bottom. Guys, none of this is really difficult. Time consuming, perhaps. I think everybody just has to weigh, man. I don't know, do you dig doing this kind of stuff? Man, if you dig doing stuff, time is not a problem. It's only the stuff that you don't dig in life, man. That's a problem when it comes to spending your time doing it. I'm pulling this through somewhat gingerly, okay? And then in theory, I'm just going to continue to pull gingerly like that. I'll come back on the other side and pull this one out a little bit. Then I'll go in here and I'll look, see how much slack I have. So I don't want a lot of wires bunched up right there. However, that said, when you get things exactly where you want them, it might be a good idea to maybe cut this wire a little bit. I usually don't. I usually just kind of wind it up in there in case I ever need to take the pickguard out and look at it, you know, kind of like this. I've got some slack. Alright, well, I'm just lining things up here. I think I'm going to put a couple of screws on this pickguard, and I'm opting not to use the rusty screws that came with the guitar. I'm going to get some other screws. Stand by. Well, I've got a couple, actually all but one of the screws in the pickguard. Some of those hole alignments are not exactly copacetic. You may or may not remember that we did repair a hole for the pickguard screw. So I'm just going to go ahead and re-drill a pilot hole. And in theory, that is about the right depth. Now, I could have done the old put a piece of tape on it and all of that. I chose not to do that because I'm living on the edge, I guess, today. And what's worse thing can happen? Headphones. Ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Man, what are you guys doing today, man? What you working on? What you got going on, Jack? Working on guitars? You working? Got me on the background? What is up, man? What is going on? Alright guys, one loaded pickguard attached to a guitar body. So we got that going for us. I will need a couple of these screws to do the output jack. You know, I had a thought, man. Hang on just a second, let me grab something. So I had a thought. My thought was, what if, and this is, you know, just putting it out there. I mean, you know, it's what we do at TED Talks Guitars and Life, man. We experiment. We look into things. We investigate. So this was the original boat for the output jack. But I keep remembering that I've got something that looks a little bit like this right here. And it fits pretty much, guys. Let me look at it in the camera. A, B, A, I'm feeling that a little bit. I don't know, maybe I should save that for another time when I black out another Strat, but like that's gonna happen. Well, it could happen. The deal with this is that this output jack sometimes, and I'm saying sometimes, you have to bore out these boats so that the pure tone output jack can fit through it, because the stem on those is usually a little bit wider than this one. So let's just check that out, you and I, while we're talking hanging out. Alright. Guys, you don't have to put pure tone output jacks on your rigs if you don't want to, man. It's all player preference stuff. I believe it helps. All right, look at that. That's a perfect fit. All right, Squier, I see you, baby. Shoots, man. All right, well, nothing to this but to do it, I guess. Now, the question is whether or not one would want to solder these wires like this and then assemble the boat, or assemble the boat and then solder the wires. I'm pretty much a assemble the boat, solder the wires guy. Sometimes I can maneuver the boat a little bit. I really need to stop and clean that before we go any further. But yeah, I'm going to clean it and then I'm going to assemble the boat. And so with the, so there's two nuts. This one kind of like is a, you adjust that so that you know how much you want sticking out here. If that makes any sense at all. But you've got to leave enough room where your washer and your nut can go on top of it, like thusly. And again, I just said I need to wash this, so let me clean this up. I'm going to throw that together and then we'll be back. Stand by. Okay, one clean boat. Hey guys, it occurs to me that I should probably, I'm going to classify this as an encouragement to everybody. When you do stuff like this, you are more than likely going to put little scratches on your guitar, man. So you've got to either count the cost of that. You see, I put a little, I don't even know how I did that, but it looks like I put a little scratch, and all I did was set an output jack near the top of that body of that guitar. So yeah, got that going for me. Alright, now later when we get down to the shimming, you see how I've got that where it's barely sticking out. Okay, now sometimes on a Strat you may not have enough room in the cavity of the output jack to have it that close. So if that's the case, then you would want to move that up. This one, I think, let me see if this is going to work for us. Yeah, that's going to fit just fine. Okay, all right, Squier, I feel you, man. So before I do the soldering to the output jack, I will tin, means I will put some solder on the tips. Okay, the top one is the negative. The one that's kind of in between, the sandwiched one, is the hot. The white is hot, the black is ground. Okay, we'll come back and do soldering later. Alright, so now what we'll do, this part of the show, I'm going to use my little handy dandy cork blocks, because you may remember when we got this guitar in the shop, this is not the original pickguard that was on it. And oh, by the way, this knob is all ate up. That's because I had a heck of a time getting it off the lamb sand pickguard. So I used pliers, so yeah. Yep, little scratch and dent sale. Anyway, the reason that was bent is probably because somebody dropped the guitar, they put it on a table flat. And when you do that, your switches, doesn't matter what kind of guitar it is, you need to make sure that you're not resting any weight on your switch. Oh, I just saw something in the pickguard I didn't like. I'm going to take this screw out to remind me to fix this later. I do not like that hole placement. I got a screw in there all cattywampus. Alright, so we'll deal with that later. Alright, so this ground wire, in theory, will attach to the claw. The claw is not in the guitar at the moment, so I will fetch it. So one of the things that we will do, let me just kind of lay this out Okay, so you've got two screws here. These two screws go into the body of the guitar, and they hold the claw to the body. Okay, and then you can either tighten or loosen this action right here. That, I'm going to take the screws out so I don't scratch anything any more than I already have. It ought to be called Ted Scratches Guitars. Anyway, so the claw would be there, and then your springs attached to it, like thusly. And then these little L pieces go into the trem block of your trem, the trem bar. Okay, so I just want to show that to you because I don't know that I'm going to film absolutely everything, because you know, some people don't. I don't know, man. You guys, how long can a video be? I mean, you know. So you'll end up with this coming through the body of the guitar, something like that, and then these little holes will go in there. Okay, now what I always do with the Strat, just because it's me, is that I will either deck. You can check out the Washburn video series for that, or I may talk about it a little bit here in a minute, but basically I take all this out of the equation, so I don't really use a trem bar. So I would typically deck that so that I don't have to deal with any of that. Generally speaking, I would put a piece of foam under the springs and on top of the springs, and if I had some really cool foam, some thick foam, I would put it inside the spring. That helps too. In fact, I was doing a sound sample of the Washburn and my nephew's Squier, and I was playing a riff, and I ended on an A chord, and that's how an A chord sounds. Anyway, and I was playing the same riff, and I played it on my nephew's Squier, and I kept hearing the pinging of the spring. So it is a real thing, guys. Now, whether or not you care about it, whether or not some people call me a perfectionist, I know what I like to hear, I know what I don't like to hear. Okay, so we're going to move to soldering. So one of the things is that this had a ground wire soldered to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove that ground wire. I'm going to remove that old solder, and I'm going to put new solder on it by way of tinning it. And then this wire that comes pre-tinned, I will solder to it, and that will end up connected right here. Okay? I'll be back. Well, as always, wherever you are in your guitar journey, I pray it's a long, smooth, safe, joy-filled ride for you, Jack. Rock on with your bad selves, everybody. We'll catch you down the road.